I used to be afraid of you, but I don't think I am anymore.
There's nothing to fear except God.
For me, God is a disease.
It's the things that make you look at what you thought you saw in a different light. The hole in the Pentagon being too small for a plane. The lawn isn't mussed up. The government's not showing the plane hitting when many cameras photographed it.
There's nothing to fear except God. God. God.
Oh, if you already know the answers to your questions, then why ask?
It's too big.
Back and to the left, 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 back and to the left.
Hello, everybody. It is the Half of God's Face podcast. Very fun, exciting week in the world in the world in general. So I've brought back on George By and Austin Healy Dershowitz, as I like to call him.
Fuck.
What do you have to say for yourself, Austin?
Well, I mean, we had a pretty good run, man. How many episodes did we do? We did, what, 12? It's no coincidence. This is the 13th episode. Bad omen.
So
obviously.
Oh, no.
Definitely getting our channel taken down.
No.
I mean, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Everything's perfectly okay. Like, everything in the news is just cleared up. There's no one has any other questions.
I need this.
Nothing is going. Yeah, no. So, I feel like I had to bring George on to talk about Epstein related stuff, because me and him have had a lot of conversations about Epstein over the years, and just seeing.
This was like the first thing that radicalized me years ago. That was like, like it's that bad. Things are this bad, I should say.
No, it's crazy, because I remember. I feel like he was kind of in the consciousness for years. Like I really do think I heard about him like forever ago.
Because he was a Pizzagate figure for so long. Like before he was in the mainstream, people knew him as like a niche. Like he was one of the center figures of Pizzagate, which I don't know how much we want to get into that.
But just his death was just like it was such a crazy ass story. And I don't know. It seemed pretty clear that every single presidential administration has covered up this one guy. I mean, George H.W. Bush and Clinton and George W. Bush and Trump. So it's like, even though people in the Trump sphere were saying they were going to do something, I was always kind of like, what are the odds but I'm still shocked that they went in such a sloppy direction. Like the messaging was so bad. The messaging was so bad that you're just kind of like, guys, this is making it way more of like, it wouldn't have even been a story if you just didn't bring it up. But then
literally,
like
you could
the
say
media
nothing.
the media was
in charge. Like, you don't have to say anything.
No, I mean, and just like, I don't know, it's tough to know where to start with Epstein, but I think really one of the things the media did that makes them incredibly complicit is they just really didn't tell the victims' stories. They made it seem so much more dumbed down, and like Whitney Webb talked to Maria Farmer, and some of the shit that Maria Farmer was telling her was just absolutely insane. And like, she was saying that she was going to the FBI like, forever ago, and no one did anything about it. So it's like, it's been decades of this same like guy kind of like being in the consciousness. And I don't know, I guess it's really frustrating to me to see, it become like such a partisan thing. Like, I'm annoyed that everyone is like, I feel like people are talking about it in general, but it's just because MAGA was so obsessed with it. So then when you see like an NBC headline, they're like, oh yeah, Pam and Cash, they stoked conspiracy theorists when they were, it's like, yeah, it was a conspiracy that Epstein was intelligence. He told people he was intelligence.
Yeah.
Like in the 90s, he openly would tell people, yeah, I'm intelligence. It's like, what are we
the former
doing?
prime minister living with him, right?
Ehud Barak was good buddies with him. Yeah.
I just was listening to a bunch of old podcasts about this, and someone brought up, forget which one it was,
there's a photo of Barack going into Epstein's NYC apartment, and they brought up the fact that he's like hiding half of his face. It's in like 2011, so it's after
Oh my God.
his two convictions, and it's like clear that he's trying to hide himself, but it's also clear that he's just like, there's something so important in that building that he has to do that he doesn't care if he gets caught and photographed. You know, it's so bizarre.
It's crazy.
And there's another thing I remembered reading here that was I might be mispronouncing this guy's name, but it's Nigel Razor wrote an article in 2001 because he was following the royal family, and he says that Epstein told him that he had a license to carry a concealed weapon in New York, which is bizarre, crazy.
Yeah,
the
that
most
is
like, you know, and then claimed to have worked for the CIA, and then later denied the claims that he was just joking or whatever. And that was in 2001.
It's like
Nothing was going on around that time. Like,
nothing was going on. No,
Yeah,
I feel like the aspect, you know, I mean, the key source on all of this is definitely Whitney Webb, as far as like the real expert on like Epstein related stuff. And it's really interesting because Tim Dillon, I was kind of surprised. He had her on years before she wrote her book. Like, that's how I first heard about her, was like 2020. And I went back to those podcasts and they were just so like enlightening. But he hasn't had her on since she published her books on Epstein, which I think is kind of surprising. I thought she was going to come back on. But point I'm making is I love that she really singles out the financial crime. The fact that he was in like some really shady shit going down at Bear Stearns in like the 80s. And then he had the Towers financial scandal, which involved like Towers Financial, like it was a huge Ponzi scheme that in 1993 was exposed as one of the biggest in U.S. history. I guess they stole over $450 million of investors' money, which is equivalent to like nearly $1 billion.
This
in
was
terms
like
of
his
inflation.
like second or third job too, right?
Yeah,
I think, or something.
And so he didn't go. I think his buddy who he like ran the scheme with named him, and I think the guy like went down. I think the guy he did it with went down, and Epstein like just quietly stepped away from the company and faced no charges for financial crime. But the other thing that she really makes out very clear and lucid is the fact that he is so connected to all the major players of Iran-Contra, and specifically Robert Maxwell, but also Adnan Khashoggi, who I'm pretty sure Adnan Khashoggi sold Maxwell his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, the yacht that, and so Robert Maxwell is kind of like the precursor where he, you know, what Whitney Webb will say is that Mossad gave him all this money to run this media empire, and then he looted the pension funds, and in her book he set up like an international crime syndicate, and like then was mysteriously killed because he was kind of threatening to say that he was Mossad and like had sold like the Promise software to a bunch of people. He is crazy as fuck. So he falls off his yacht.
Falls off his
and
boat that's named
Ghislaine, she's in the media. She's like talking to reporters, and they go, "What happened to your dad?" She goes, "I think he was murdered." All facts. So then people come at you with this gaslighting. They're like, wait, why would Epstein be... I mean, Tim Dillon is saying this like word for word, but I have the exact same reaction. It's like, when someone comes at you with that energy, they're like, wait, why would he be intelligent? It's like,
Yeah.
like
Dude,
Adnan Khashoggi was one of the principal... He was the guy negotiating between Israel and Iran to sell weapons during Iran-Contra.
Right.
It was Adnan Khashoggi, like one of the main players, and he was best buddies with Epstein, who was seemingly somewhat involved in moving money, because that's kind of one of the things he's known for, is moving money, avoiding taxes, all this kind of stuff, on top of the trafficking.
Right. That's like the second biggest thing that people talk about that he got away with so clean, and considering his like the crowd he runs with. I was gonna say the fucking another thing about Robert Maxwell, or the connection between them, is the guy who gets Epstein his first teaching job is Donald Barr, who was a former OSS officer with Robert Maxwell. So it's
my God.
It's thick as thieves, dude. Like, I mean, that expression, like, it's insane. Like, it goes so deep.
Yeah, and he's the father of William Barr, who went on to like cover up Epstein.
Yeah, like it's
or Bill
like
Barr.
It's that insane. And like there's stuff like that where when you read about it, and it's not stuff that people bring up often, like that's a pretty you got to be pretty invested in order to bring up people like Iran, the Iran Contra connections and Donald Barr and stuff. And it's like that's just not that's not a coincidence. There's no way, like it's bizarre to think that. And then when it comes to where we're at today, that they're like weeks before months maybe, whatever, when Kash Patel's on Rogan and he's like, there's 10,000 hours of video. We know about the Black Book. People who are also close to the case in like 2009 were saying that there's like thousands of names that are to be listed and stuff. And then now it's like, no, we were wrong. Like it's
crazy.
Bizarre.
It's crazy they fumbled that. No, it is really bizarre because it really seems like they might have been acting on their own accord, and then like later on people are like, nah, let's take that back. I don't think anyone
the fucking press secretary said something not that long ago too about it, about like the list of names like that they're working on or something. That I don't actually completely remember, but I remember that was fairly recently, and it was like what just doing a complete 180 is so bizarre. Like you're just lying to her. And then the Elon thing, where 2 or 3 months ago when he tweeted Trump was in the client list, which was also super annoying because it was like pedo v pedo. Like I was like, I hate everybody in this situation.
Well, because Musk is not even being honest about like his connection to Epstein. I mean, he had this, according to Whitney Webb, Elon Musk asked Epstein who he should name at like a big job at SpaceX or Tesla or something. Like he was asking him for advice in the last 10 years. So it's crazy that. And then, dude, I saw a headline of Alan Dershowitz being like, I know what the client list is. They're suppressing the client list. It's like, bro, your whole life was defending the accusations against yourself. And now you're flipping for like political gain to kind of like voodoo magic. I feel like he probably knows that the names aren't going to come out. So now he's trying to posture because he's had some. So him, Prince Andrew, and then Ehud Barak all got pretty vicious allegations. I think a lot of them were Virginia Jeffrey, who just died under mysterious circumstances.
Dude, and that shit is so freaky. Like, I don't know enough about that, but I remember texting you, Zach, about that because it was like, I was texting a few other friends and like one friend who's like in the medical field and whatever, and he was like it's not that insane, like, or whatever considered. Like, I remember people were saying like that whatever accident she was in was unreported. I don't know about that.
Dude, it was so bizarre. I definitely
did not see it though. Yeah, it's just like there's like a lot of shit where I was like, I'm sorry, like that just freaks me the fuck out. Like
because she got into like I think like a bus, like a school bus hit her, and then the local police were like, yeah, this wasn't actually that bad of a crash. So and I think she showed a photo of herself.
But then the photo,
a photo of herself beat up. And then
the
she mysteriously
looks like someone like tries to take a selfie for someone else who's brain dead.
Dude, it was so disturbing. And then like within like a month or two, she quote unquote commits suicide. And there's like literally no information on what happened. Like I have not been able to like.
Wait, what?
No
was
one
her name?
said like Virginia Jeffrey.
Yeah, she was like the first.
She was in the photo with Prince Andrew.
She was. I don't remember if she was like outed or if she voluntarily came forward.
God,
she's got
I'm
a crazy
picture.
Story. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. She's got a crazy story. She's also one of the people that first named Bill Clinton as one of the big Epstein guys because she was like, I saw him there. I think she even said that she allegedly like made out with him or kissed him and stuff.
It's very likely. No, because there's so many pieces. It's so easy to jump all over the place. But I think one of the big names that is one of the most provocative Epstein connections is definitely Mark Middleton, it was said in the media for years apparently that he had got Epstein into the White House like 5 different times. And then it was reported in 2023 that actually he had got Epstein into the White House like 15 times. And then he died 4 months later. They ruled it a suicide. He was tied around a tree with like cables and he had shotgun blasts himself in the chest. And the shotgun was found like 20 feet from him. It like wasn't even found close to his body and they ruled it a suicide.
Dude, that's awesome. Like it's just stuff like that. What's the
shotgun discovered near body of former Clinton aide.
He could have thrown it. You know, maybe his body spasmed when he shot himself 6 times in the chest.
No, but that's like the
yeah.
gymnastics that we've been doing the past month.
Literally, yeah.
It's
They
not
expect
that
you to
hyperbolic.
They expect you to just be like, "This is normal." But I was gonna say, what's the? I think it's in hypernormalization.
It was
when
30
Adam
feet
Curtis
away
is-
from him. Yeah.
Oh,
30
wow.
feet.
30 feet is insane. When Adam Curtis is talking about Putin's, because now I can't really remember this. Putin's like side, or his
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
right hand man, who is
Vladislav Surkov.
yeah, he was like a professional in the theater, so he would just flat out lie about stuff and then tell the truth about.
He
other
would fund
things.
both sides.
Yeah.
Which is
Anyway,
what
so
the United States government has always fucking
yeah,
done in foreign
yeah.
policy. We
But
fund both Iran and Iraq during
right,
the
especially
Iran Contra stuff.
especially now, it's just corroded over with something that like Epstein is like such a bipartisan, even like a meme internet issue that like people can joke about, but like does have some, I
Mhm.
mean, really serious implications and scary shit behind it. So it's like very popular, and it's like a
Right.
thing that like when you're doing this types of like flip flopping that like normally in the media they can be kind of like ignored or just be like, oh, that's new information. It's constantly coming out. It's like, no, like there are certain things that we know in this story to be true, and they constantly, I mean, like, are just, yeah, it's just bizarre. It's a really one of the only, or like maybe the major things in my life that like every time I look into it, it just makes me feel like I'm going to drill a hole into my skull and like pour acid into it, because it's like that would make me feel better than like thinking about all these like small things every day. Like the fucking Epstein had a fucking like a private music school that's in Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula
my
or something. I remember hearing about this when I was at a Chapo Trap House live show, which is in 20 like fuck, I can't remember, but it was before COVID. But they talked about it because they had just learned about it when they were driving up there, and they were saying that like, oh, people, and this is all here. This is like purely anecdotal now, but I believe it. They were like, like some of the staff said that they believe that there's like a secret room where he would quote unquote play piano and like all this.
Ugh,
And it's like just
Jesus.
everything you hear about this story is like just maddening, like truly maddening.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because then there's all these stories of people that clearly weren't connected to Epstein who happened to meet him. Because
Yeah.
so there's a couple
Like
of
Chris
things.
Tucker, the very great,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's hilarious.
Well, Chris Tucker, I don't know what Chris, but did you hear that? I don't know what happened with Chris Tucker, but I know he did talk about it recently for the
He
first time
allegedly
and
was just
confirmed.
there. I think I remember reading.
It's like
he was,
catching a ride on his plane to Africa.
he was
or
just
something.
passing through. I remembered hearing that Epstein got him and people like Daniel Blaine specifically to cater to the like literally to the younger audiences. I don't know if that's true, but I believe that. Like that makes sense to me.
Yeah, well, because again, I do understand that like he was. I mean, he literally. You know, Epstein was like getting involved in like becoming buddies with all of Silicon Valley too in like the 2010s. So like everyone that was, you know, connected to like Google and Facebook and Tesla, like they all were buddies with him. So you can't accuse every single person. The way I look at it is like, yeah, there are credible accusations against quite a few people, but there's a lot of people that just like happened to meet him. Like, who is that comic who I think he was on We Might Be Drunk?
Dude, Bobby Slayton or whatever.
No, wait, I was thinking of someone else. This other comic who was just talking about running into him. And running into Epstein and
I was gonna say I did forget this, but this is really kind of embarrassing. But I swear to God, right hand to God, this is a true story. I was looking at the Black Book one time, Epstein's, and Bobby Slayton, who I don't know if you guys know, but he's like a very like offensive, or he was like pretty famous in like the early 2000s, late 90s maybe. They've talked about him on Cumtown a bunch. But he's in the Black Book, and I remember thinking that was weird. And you can look online, and his number is not censored. And in 2020, I was like drunk and called the number and like made my voice deeper and was like, "Oh, I'd like to speak to Bobby Slayton, you know, about booking an event or whatever," purely just to see if it would work. And he called me back, and I did not respond because I was
what the fuck,
dude? Yeah, because it was his number. And then I also read an article. That I don't know where it was from, but I remember the title was something like calling everybody in Epstein's Black Book, or that's something, you know, all the ones that were available online or, you know, available for the public. And the guy wrote that Bobby Slayton was like the first one to answer, which I was like, that's very funny, but that's also hilarious. And he's like, yeah, fuck it. I don't got anything else going on. I'll tell you what you want to know. Like, I'm not doing nothing. So, yeah.
No, that is crazy. But it does seem like there are multiple levels to it where, yeah, he was definitely okay. So, Epstein kind of started as like a financial criminal, but then he definitely was running like a trafficking enterprise, which is just horrifying because it was just so many like young girls. And at a certain point, I think, yeah, he was doing that, but I also think he was kind of intentionally trying to meet every famous person so that later he could be like, oh, I knew you or something, like really just like know everybody. But no, I mean, I don't know. It's weird when the DOJ is like, yeah, there's no evidence of blackmail. It's like, really?
Like, really? Yeah. Like, there's
Like,
pictures
how
of
could
Bill
you
Clinton
definitively
there's
say
confirmed
that?
pictures of Bill Clinton getting a back rub from a 16-year-old. Like, and that's
No,
just, that's nothing. That amounts to, that's just like, oh, and him too, being on there like 26 times, or I think is the number or whatever.
yeah.
I actually
And
can't
Clinton
remember.
was super connected to Iran-Contra.
Yeah.
Clinton was what
Wait,
I
Iran
find
Contra
so.
was 90 or is 80. What year is Iran Contra? Actually,
Yeah, it was basically mid 80s.
oh, okay.
But the whole, the enterprise or the, I think was one term they used, or there's another. I think the other one was the company for kind of this arms smuggling, drug smuggling, and then Epstein ends up becoming the human trafficking aspect of this. But no, I mean, I think one of the ultimate arguments in favor of this kind of uniparty idea in American politics is this connection between George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton during Iran-Contra. I mean, everyone's saying, like Oliver North and all these people are going, yeah, we reported to Bush. Bush was running Iran-Contra. He was at the top. And then sure enough, Barry Seal type, pilots were flying in coke and dropping it in Mena, Arkansas. Bill Clinton, he pardons his brother for drug trafficking when he becomes the president. It wasn't just drug abuse; it
I
was
don't think I
literally
knew that, actually.
drug trafficking. So, and then his brother had the infamous quote where he said, "Bill had a nose like a vacuum cleaner."
Wait, that's
Ooh.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
literally, H.W. Bush and Iran-Contra at a certain point were facilitating the Medellin cartel, which I think I forget if Pablo Escobar is connected to them, but Pablo Escobar was doing business directly with basically the CIA and then the National Security Council under Oliver North.
Right.
And then they were dropping the drugs off in Mena, Arkansas, where Bill Clinton. So the movie American Made, I think I've probably brought this up
This
on
is
the
the Tom
podcast.
Cruise one?
Yeah,
no?
it's a good fucking movie. There's a scene where he gets arrested and he goes, he's like, call the governor, see what happens.
No,
And
he's
Bill,
like, I bet I get out of here.
yeah, and then
And there's like, there's no chance.
Bill Clinton calls the sheriff and was like, let him go. And it's in the
Dude,
movie. That's in a
that's so
mainstream
funny.
Hollywood movie.
Wow.
Is a former president helping cover up the Iran-Contra
Dude, well, I don't
scandal.
I feel like that they do that a lot in movies. Like, especially now, where they'll let small things slide that are so big. Do you remember in the fucking Irishman when they do that thing?
Oh, there's so much great stuff
where,
in the Irishman.
but they because now I'm completely.
Is it when he's like, if
forgetting.
they can whack the president of a mob?
They do that, but there's the part where they're
The man with the
goods
big
or
ears.
something. The big ears, yes. What is that? What is the
Howard Hunt?
reference to
Dude,
that?
that's supposed to be E. Howard Hunt.
That's it. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I was like, I could remember it sort of, but I didn't remember the specifics of it.
Yeah, and then
Dan
doesn't
Ferry's
David
in it
Ferry
too.
show up
Yeah.
again?
Or
Yeah.
David
Yeah,
Ferry,
yeah, he does, and that's in a Netflix movie. And then, also not to jump back, but did you guys ever see that the Netflix Jeffrey Epstein docuseries?
Was it more like
No.
about the victim stuff?
Yeah,
I think I saw that.
It's produced by James Patterson, who, as we know, is a very reliable source. Co-wrote Bill Clinton's book. Has been like writing propaganda for like years, and like also I think co-wrote Obama's book. But like the whole series is like frames it as like Epstein was just too smart, like, or like he was too charming, and like nobody could stop him. We don't know why he had so much money. They don't even go into Les Wexner at all. They don't go into like
Crazy,
any
bro.
of these weird connections.
It's frustrating.
Prior to that. No, it's so bizarre because you're like, again, like James Patterson is in the intro, in the first 5, probably 15, maybe 30 seconds of the show. You see James Patterson's name. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to believe everything after this. Like, I don't know. It drives me insane. Like, and then this dumb, and it's always still like been consistent. Like people now, I think within the MAGA sphere who have been like broken by like this whole thing and believing that Trump was going to like expose everybody and stuff, or like the guys who were like Epstein was like a white hat operation in order to expose actually how bad Israel and the Mossad was. Like, you know, like there's like all this like crazy like,
well, there's a lot of gymnastics.
Like things that gymnastics that
mental gymnastics.
And then like but like the whole like narrative of him being like, actually he's just a very smart and cool guy, being like the one that's the most pervasive or the most prominent or whatever.
Well, that he tricked everybody, that no one had any idea anything that's happening. It was only him and Ghislaine. They were the only two people involved.
Right. It's so insane to me because you'll hear that, and then there's like the story about how he went to scientists and was like, I have a genius idea. Can you freeze my dick and balls and brains so that I can impregnate people in the future? And they're like, no. Like this guy's supposed to be a scientist. And he's coming to me like, can you freeze my dick? And they're like, I don't know how to tell you. A guy who allegedly went to, you know, whatever school or, you know, whatever, like, yeah, just, it's like, he was a fucking idiot. Like, he was not good at math. There's like all the stories about how he was allegedly not very good at his job when he was a math tutor and a teacher, which is also hilarious. It's just like there's so much shit that you can get into.
Oh no, because you were bringing up, because I didn't see that series, but I read the Filthy Rich book, and it is total trash. It's like,
I'm sure it is.
He's
is
like,
it James Patterson too?
Yeah, it's Patterson. It's I think the series is like based on that book, if I had to guess. Yeah. And he's just like, yeah, he was just my charismatic neighbor, and you know, it's like, okay, bro. It's like you're not even like trying to look at like so much stuff.
Even if that narrative was true, that's like, oh, he was just so cool. It's like you were so charmed while he was like shipping 12-year-old girls in behind his back.
He was known for that at Dalton too. I'm pretty sure at Dalton he would just date people like chicks in his class, like openly, and
he was like touching.
He like would date like the head of Dalton's like daughter and stuff. Yeah. Like he would date like really powerful people's like daughters like very easily. So Ghislaine, because Maxwell, it's very debated how good he was with, you know, like how did he make all of his money is still $1 million question. And it seems like the trafficking itself was probably a huge aspect of that as far as like the behind the scenes money. But Les Wexner gave him like power of attorney or something.
Yeah,
and like he like gifted him like a $40 million. Yeah, he gifted him like a $25 million townhouse. So in the 90s, there was a point when the H.W. Bush administration was leasing Epstein a luxury mansion in Manhattan. It was his third. He had 3 mansions in Manhattan, and the Bush administration was leasing to him. And he tried to get one over on them. He started. He had. I think his name was Ivan Fisher, or like Max Fisher or something. The guy who was like a lawyer in the French Connection. Like drug running, like shit. He tried to lease to him, and the Bush administration was like, I think they sued the guy that he charged double for rent to live there. And it's just like, how does that even, like, how is that not immediately, how does that immediately not like quell any question of, did this guy work for the government, when he literally is able to live in a mansion like the, you know,
on the Upper East Side. It's
Ivan Fisher. So it's just like, what? Like, how does that even happen? And I don't know. It is bizarre that there's all this crossover between all the different administrations. And, you know, Alex Acosta is the classic quote that everyone brings up, that he was intelligent. So I had to hold off. And that was during the W. Bush administration.
Yeah. So it's like, it's bizarre. Have you guys read that fucking the interview with his former bodyguard, Epstein's former bodyguard and driver.
I've heard of this. I don't think I
No.
actually read
Dude.
the interview, but I heard about it from like Nick Bryant.
Yes, it's the funniest fucking shit because there's like a part where the interview guy is like, "Didn't you say that you thought that like he?" Oh no, there's like a part where he's like, "I told him to stop messing. I told him to stop messing." There's a great Come Town clip of this, so I'm not gonna actually butcher it. But he's basically saying like that he knew that he was involved with sketchy shit, and he would tell Epstein like, to be careful and stuff because he didn't. He probably had an idea that it was like trafficking and stuff, but
Jeff, you gotta chill,
dude. And
but
that
the
Epstein-
Russians are.
Yeah, but Epstein would be like, "Okay, Grandma," like that's a quote from the guy. Like he'd basically be like, "Jeffrey, please stop shipping 12-year-olds. You're going to get caught very soon." And he was like, oh, "Okay, yeah, Grandpa, you worry about your shit. I'm in my lane. Like, fine." I'm trying to look up the quotes here from this because it's so funny. But it's like he was like his trainer too, so he would like help him like do fucking jujitsu and shit or like whatever and drive him to work.
Yeah. No, the bodyguard thing was crazy because so Nick Bryan always brings up like I think it's the Black Book, right? Where he has like
Nick Bryan is like
the bodyguard circled all the names that he thought were in on it.
Yeah. The guy that stole it, I forget who he was. He was like an assistant, circled all the names who he knew were either participants or had seen some shady shit go on, so that like they would be super implicated. But that guy also like he got imprisoned for extortion or something, I think was.
Oh wow.
For like 16 years, and then he also might have killed himself. I can't remember, but he's.
I'm sure he probably. Too. Yeah, because where I get with it is like, as far as regarding another report I had heard as far as like where did his fortune come from, there's been like articles written where they're like, yeah, Bill Gates, Les Wexner, and Donald Trump are the people that helped him make his fortune. And the whole lore between him and Trump is that they were best buddies. They were clearly so Trump was and I actually do really like that film, The Bachelor. Is it The Bachelor or no? I'm fucking it up. I'm saying the totally wrong name, aren't I?
Jeremy Strong.
The Apprentice, right?
The Apprentice, yes.
Yeah, no, I was The Bachelor, Jesus. But no, The Apprentice is actually a really good movie. The only thing that it does is it pulls punches. It kind of curves it where it goes, yeah, Roy Cohn was just like, hey, Donald, the world is shit, and you got to be a bad guy because the world is shit. But it's like, no, he taught Trump how to blackmail, probably, because Roy Cohn was using the Plaza Hotel. So if we're going to look at this in a very cynical way, and we're going to say that, people like Trump and Clinton and Bill Gates all had really, and Bill Gates knew them in the 90s, like the early 90s. But if we're going to look at them and kind of assume the worst, I feel like the big question is if Trump is implicated, why didn't Biden use this against him, or why didn't Clinton? And one side of this argument is that it's a wash. Everybody is named, so no one wants anyone to be named. So
yeah.
But I think the Roy Cohn connection is very interesting because Trump bought the Plaza Hotel and he started having the similar kind of parties at the Plaza Hotel. I think he clearly learned how to blackmail in a lot of different ways. And that's
read the first part of the Whitney Webb book? Because I haven't finished.
Yeah.
I haven't finished either yet, but the first part is just so much about the blackmail and the mafia.
It's J. Edgar Hoover and Roy Cohn and
I know at the end of it connects
family.
Yeah, so it's like I would totally believe that it's like
the Crowns, the Pritzkers.
Yeah, that it's just all of this, but it's so funny that it's like I remember being like very impressed that it starts in like the 1930s or 40s, whatever, mafia, because it's like these ideas of blackmail, like these like these systems that they have are like this far back, like it really works. Roy Cohn was just like a guy who was also fucking like young 19-year-old boy or like guys and stuff, and like that was under wraps for a while.
Not to
jump around,
talk ill of the dead, but they might have been younger than 19. But
talk ill of the
R.I.P. Roy Cohn. He's my hero. No, I don't mean that.
Well, it's similar. Bill Gates was like asked about Epstein, and they're like, "What do you think about his death?" And he's like, "Well, he's dead."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what he said, right?
What are you gonna
Yeah,
say?
he did say
said,
that.
Yeah, he said something to that.
Like,
Well,
well,
he's dead now.
So
Yeah, like what are you gonna do? Which was actually one of the crazier things to say. Of like, you're Bill Clinton. What do you say? That's one of actually the craziest things you could have said.
Oh,
Bill
no, yeah,
Gates
Bill
says
Gates
he
said
shouldn't
that,
have
yeah.
had dinners
Bill
with
Gates.
Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, and
That's
then
so funny.
people are saying that his wife divorced him over the Epstein connection.
Yeah, I think that's
Which
true. I
it's
don't know
possible.
if that's,
It's
gossip.
fairly true. So there's this rumor that Gates went to Epstein and thought Epstein could help him get like a Nobel Prize or something, because of course Epstein and Ghislaine, they would go to like shit like Sotheby's like auction, and then they would, they just knew every scientist and intellectuals, and of course Stephen Hawking pops up as going to Epstein Island and like different like scientists and stuff. But no, he had crazy connections in the like with it, legitimately like intellectuals and like artists and stuff. And it's really creepy. I mean, when they were trafficking the girls, so the really creepy story is that Maria Farmer told was that Ghislaine and Ivana Trump would go and they would go talk to like middle school girls, and Ghislaine was like, I work for Victoria's Secret, and then she would ask them about their grades.
Oh wow!
And like she would literally pick like young girls that were smart too, which is like so like I don't know what, something about that is just so like horrific. But and then the other lore as far as between Trump and Epstein is that I believe both either Ghislaine or Epstein claim that they introduced Trump to Melania.
Yeah, they fucked the first time on the
wow.
plane.
No way. Really?
Yeah, I think it was nicknamed like the Lolita Express or something, right? Or that's just like a joke. I don't know.
That is the rumor. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, we don't know, but
so the lore is that Trump was like best buddies with Epstein for a long time, and then at a certain point,
said.
Yeah, but they did have they broke it off. They stopped being friends, and the QAnon version is that Trump had a problem. Trump was like a moral figure, and he had a problem when he found out what. But the way Whitney Webb tells it is makes a lot more sense. Where she says that Trump told Epstein, "Here's a real estate deal, and this is like an awesome property." And he was like, "I'm gonna like buy it and sell it to somebody." And then Epstein like bought it underneath him, like went and like got it and then did his own thing with it.
Whoa.
Or vice versa, something like that. And so then they like were like, "Fuck you," like they hated each other. And then Trump banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago after that. And then
I don't think I've heard that before.
Yeah, so that is what Whitney Webb says, is that it was more like a real estate thing.
Oh, is that in the second book?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she talks about, but she says it in like interviews. I forget if it comes up. But no, the second book is pretty detailed on Epstein, like all these different, companies and all this different all this crazy stuff. So I don't know, just to like go back to kind of why everyone's talking about it right now. I mean, the big thing is Trump, but I think the Trump connection is why it's really exploding.
And that clip of him, dude, where he's saying, "Why does anybody care about this or whatever anymore?"
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah, that was brutal.
We have stuff in Texas going on right now. Do you want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein?
Because it's like, dude, that's your whole. That's been
they brought it up.
Thing. No
one would have brought it up.
Narrative, like it's like, from your narrative, from your side's perspective, that's why. It's bizarre. It's just so crazy. I don't know.
No, it is, because the thing that made this story, why it's so creepy, is that Epstein was able to just be totally free, no issue, his whole life, and then he finally got arrested for having sex with a minor. I feel like it was a lot. It was probably like 10 or 15.
It was a lot.
Accusers in 2006, 2007, and it was 2008
or something. But I mean,
I think it was multiple times. Yeah, I think it was as early as 2008 when Epstein got the first sweetheart deal. And the way Nick Bryant will talk about it is like he only served like 12 months in prison or so. Or no, I think he totally didn't even have to serve jail
Yeah,
time,
there
or,
was
or he
like
was in like a really cushy prison where he could
yeah, he
go
was in a
home.
cushy prison, and I think that there was a thing where
He was
was
making
allowed
steak with
to.
Uncle Vinny.
he was
He could go
he was
home on
cutting
the
the garlic
weekends.
real thin. Yeah, he was having the garlic melt in the sauce. Yeah, wearing a tracksuit.
So you don't use too much garlic. I'm not gonna use too much garlic.
Yeah, but he fucking. I remember hearing. I don't remember if I might be getting this one wrong, but I think I remember hearing that he was like allowed to like go like be like to go to and fro, like he was allowed to. Like,
It was
leave his cell
very
and stuff.
lax.
And then there was a thing about how I do remember for sure that women would visit his cell, like, and I remember that was like
It's
a thing
crazy,
that people would
dude.
mention,
Yeah.
like,
So that's
which
how
is
they
like, that's
treated him the
just
first time he
crazy.
got popped. He got like the biggest sweetheart deal
And then he
ever.
got popped.
Like,
yeah, when he broke his cherry, you know.
no, but so he was kind of
They
in the
allowed him to
consciousness.
leave for 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. He was allowed to work
That's
from
so
a private
insane.
office where he met with visitors.
So it's
They also
basically not
allowed
jail.
him to
Yeah.
visit his Palm Beach mansion despite initial restrictions.
Yeah,
Jesus.
It's like Mr. Epstein was allowed to go to the nearest school down the street
Oh,
4 hours
no.
a day. It's like why not just be that it's like that level of like just so in your face.
Yeah.
Like,
No, and that's why I love, Nick Bryant so much, is that he's pretty courageous. I mean, the Franklin Scandal book that he wrote is one of the hardest to read books, because it's basically about an Epstein style scandal of the 80s. And he talks about in that book all these like legitimate moments where the government covered up for pedophiles. And one of the ones he brings up is the Finders cult. And the CIA,
which I don't know enough, or I don't.
it's crazy, dude. It was like these guys like in like who were fairly well dressed just had like feral children that they were hanging out with at a park, and they got arrested. And then when the police like searched like their warehouse, they had like computers and they had like child pornography that they were making using like not even just those kids, but like it was like a whole like thing. And then the CIA like shut it down, and like they gave the kids back to these guys, like the Finders. The Finders cult is one of the most direct. This is brought up in the Franklin Scandal book, Dick Bryant, and then another impossibly difficult to read book is Eye of the Chicken Hawk, which is about all these serial killers and pedophiles and
They
saying
talk about
that John
Allen Ginsberg in there, I think, which is very upsetting or very sad, to hear.
Yeah, I forget. But there's a ton of names that pop up in Eye of the Chicken Hawk. There's this point where it connects some of these like pedophile like network connected people to like John Wayne Gacy. And it's really dark, man. You can go in a direction in regards to investigating crime that gets really difficult to stomach.
I remember
because
because I've heard that thing about I forget exactly what it is, but that like some pedophilic like organization that is involved with John Wayne Gacy that was also involved with the government, or that there's like some ties to that. And then it's like,
or
you
just
hear about
ties from serial killers to these same networks.
Right. And you hear about stuff like the Epstein thing, it's like, this is our, or, like in the modern era, this is the things that they're working on. And it has ties to all of these, like, also like, how crazy is it that this like Epstein news comes out during like all of the Israel Palestine stuff that's happening now. I won't go where, whatever, but I mean, like, it's just bizarre. Like, it's just, it's so deep. It goes so deep. There's like a lot of levels to it. And it's all designed, I think, or they've put it up this way and set it up, or it's so, it just is made to make you sound crazy. Like, cause it's so
well, when you
convoluted.
That's the thing that's kind of crazy is like there's a handful of people that have come forward and said they are, let's say, MK Ultra survivors, and some of them have stories where you're like, what? Like the chick, I think Kathy O'Brien, who Kurt Metzger always brings up. I read her book. It is pretty insane. Like she makes claims where you're like, no way. Like you're like, that didn't. I mean, she said like every president like raped her, basically, like 5 different presidents. And to some degree, there's this weird truth to it, because I read in multiple books that Gerald Ford was potentially blackmailed to be on the Warren Commission.
Oh
And
yeah,
she says a lot of crazy shit about Gerald Ford. And he
that's
obviously
so funny.
did all the right things in the Warren Commission to keep the official narrative. But
Right.
I don't know. I guess the through line that's just really
Yeah,
dark
but there's
that
like
you get from
always
these books
yeah.
is, I was just going to say that, like, yeah, that, blackmail. I mean, I think it's just a part of not just our political system, but every political system. And
Yeah.
like you're saying with Israel, I mean, the Mossad have definitely figured out how to do it at a very consistent level. Because, I mean, Maria Farmer, she said that
Mhm.
Epstein and Ghislaine were not loyal to the United States. They were loyal to Israel. And
Yep.
then they just loved, Ehud Barak, and Robert Maxwell was buried on the Mount of Olives in
Yeah, dude.
Jerusalem,
Yeah, I mean,
and he
it's
got a
like
state funeral where 5 Israeli heads of state attended. And
Mm.
Yitzhak Shamir said in the eulogy for when they're burying Robert Maxwell, I think Yitzhak Shamir is like, he has done more for Israel than can today be
yes,
said
dude.
about
Yes,
Robert Maxwell. So he's like
yes.
he's the most Israeli spy like possible. And then
I was
he
literally
like
gonna try to
taught
bring up that quote
Ghislaine to
because
do
that's
all
just such
kinds
an
of stuff.
insane thing to say. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's so crazy. Yeah.
I was watching a podcast with someone, and he was like, he's like, I don't trust Israel. He's like, why? He's like, well, when I was working, every single person that was like at the place had a wire tapped. They like would always have gifts. He's
Yeah,
like,
are you talking about
he's
John
like,
Kiriakou?
I think.
Dude, yeah, he's the man. That was such a funny story.
He was like, they always had gifts, and there was always a wire. And I'm like, dude, you
Dude,
guys can't fucking keep doing this.
That's so.
Yeah,
funny.
John Kiriakou literally was just on PBD podcast, and he was like, he was like, the CIA, our headquarters, we stopped letting Mossad like visit our headquarters because they kept bringing gifts that had listening devices inside.
Oh my god, bro! Like,
And
No,
he
I
was
think he
just
set up
like,
like 100% of the like every single one.
no,
That's-
they're
they're-
notoriously
They weren't even.
very
They like knew they
aggressive.
weren't even. They just like kept
Right.
sending it because they knew they was going to get caught. But it was like whatever.
Dude,
if we just
that's-
keep
Well, dude,
fucking-
even Munich, which you can make the argument is very, is pro-Israel in a lot of ways. Munich, the Steven Spielberg movie, I still feel like even Spielberg will admit aspects of the way they went after the people that,
Oh yeah,
it's
way
where they
more
definitely
critical
went.
than you think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, because there was the guy who like he did a translation of Arabian Nights, and he like had nothing to do with the Munich hostage situation. He gets killed anyway. So they're notorious for, and I mean, Angleton, we kind of talked about this in the JFK episode, but Angleton really set the pace. And I think so. Essentially, where the Israel American connection was forged was that the Jewish people that were wanting to flee the Soviet Union, they would move to Israel. And so Angleton and the CIA were worried that Israel might become communist because they thought there's going to be all these Jews that are coming from Eastern European countries that are coming from communist countries. What if Israel goes communist? And they made this deal. Angleton made this deal with, the early state of Israel and like their intelligence service of, give us information. And at one point, he got like a secret Khrushchev speech, like that was involving Khrushchev criticizing Stalin for the first time in like a closed door meeting. And they got that intelligence from like I believe a Russian Jew who moved to, or something like that. So there was this partnership where Israel clearly wasn't going to go communist, where they became very useful to the United States, and that's the really nice way to put the beginning of it. And then Angleton essentially helped them get a nuke. And then it was kind of our policy. And so part of the Promise software debacle with Robert Maxwell is that this software was kind of like, I want to say it was kind of data collection, but it was also about finding patterns and stuff. So this software could do stuff where it could look at a bunch of data and find like insider trading. And it could like go, hey, a bunch of people made this trade before this terrorist attack happened. And what does that make you think of? Fucking like 9/11 insider trading or something? But that shit seems to happen in general. So the intelligence agencies had figured this out with that software. And apparently Maxwell sold promise to American nuclear facilities. And what Whitney Webb says, and I think Tucker just said this the other day too, is that at a certain point, the Israelis gave nuclear secrets, American nuclear secrets, to the Chinese. So Israel is also making these deals
counterintelligence
with the Chinese, and they're using people like Robert Maxwell to facilitate that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
the connections between all of that are so it's just another thing that when you say out loud sounds insane, but then there's so much history to it, or even just like with Robert Maxwell and not even Epstein himself. Yeah. And Ghislaine too. Ghislaine has like so many crazy connections between like Israeli intelligence and
and then the British royal family. She like was friends with them forever, and she would
Kevin Spacey, lest we forget.
she would court like the Kennedys and stuff too.
Yeah.
Like she was really.
Is there pictures of RFK Jr. with Ghislaine? Is there,
I forget. I don't know if there were photos, but he definitely hung out with. He definitely was like on their plane, and he kind of like distances himself from it. But they knew. I mean, the Ghislaine. So Epstein was connected. He had a lot of weird connections where you can't really figure out how he. I mean, he was teaching at Dalton, and he like didn't have a college degree or something. And
like he was a nobody essentially. In terms of
and
like
he comes
the elite.
And he comes from nowhere, which really does feed this narrative that he might have actually. I mean, he was always known for dating young chicks. Like he was known for that. And I wonder how early it was clear that, he was connected to some of this insane shit just because he was so clearly like, a real criminal, like a to the bone criminal. And he potentially really young made these connections because the whole network was so criminal, like with, and again, like we're saying about sounding crazy. I mean, when you start, like Maria Farmer saying that she saw like images of like Baphomet in like Epstein's like house, like that starts to like, I think that's one of the reasons like the media at times won't even talk about this stuff because like I was saying with Kathy O'Brien, or there are a couple of MK Ultra survivors that say insane shit, but Maria Farmer and some of these like Virginia Giuffre, even their more normal claims do sound wild. But
but it's like
true
how can
that
you not? Like at that point, fuck. Like you're already talking about the most evil things that on the highest scale the government and everything can do and get away with in front of your face, and then tell you that you're stupid for not believing in it when they do 180s like they've done, or like
I just can't believe cutting to like today. I mean, I can't believe the story is seemingly bigger than ever. I mean, I just thought that the Trump administration was going to just take a knee because, in respect to the Trump administration, I feel like they've released good documents regarding to JFK. The RFK, and from what I've heard, the RFK documents sound like they're very disappointing, like not really anything. So at least they've released some of these JFK docs, but Epstein is so recent, and we never get to the bottom of anything in this country. Like whoever is the president covers up for other presidents, even though now we're having like Trump, who talks a big game, talks about locking up Hillary, and I mean Biden didn't pardon himself. Like he could probably go after Biden for all kinds of shit if he wanted to.
But we're like just post like facts in America. Like it doesn't matter anymore. Like it's like you can just kind of like.
There's like secret deals happening.
Right. And like if a certain narrative gains traction that is like good for both parties, that they can just both like accelerate or lean into, it's like, then why not do that, even if it is just completely false and stuff like this, or just like even to the point of like not acknowledging things. Like I mean what's the guy that's now wants to resign from the FBI?
Bongino. By the time this podcast comes out, him or Pam Bondi might not have a job in the government.
He probably has killed himself.
Oh no!
Two bullets to the back of the head. Bro,
whatever. That would be insane.
Or I mean, probably not actually. I was saying to Zach that he looks like a pimple. So maybe like someone pushed. he got like a little bit of pressure on the both sides of his head, and his head has exploded recently.
That's what Cash looks like, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's very, very similar. I mean, when you're dealing with a case where they're like, this is the most intense and like there's the most blackmail probably ever in the most modern history of America, and they're like, yeah, you have to go out there and say it's fake. You have to go out and say,
there's all those memes, and when it's like, guys, we need the media to keep pressure on this, we need the people, and then it's guys, he killed himself.
And both of those guys look like the meme of the kid that's in class that's like holding in his breath with the big vein on his forehead. Because they're holding in the biggest secret in American history, and
because it's just infuriating because it's not even, there's so much gaslighting where you're like, guys, you can look on the internet and find out all of this, like, and then Pam Bondi is like asked about it, and they released that video that's from like a shit angle.
It was edited on Adobe Premiere.
And then it was edited. It's the wrong cell.
It's not it's not in his cell. It's like across the hall.
Like, you don't have to do like a deep dive either. You can just type into Google like the video, and it says like metadata shows it was likely edited.
Oh my god!
Just like, how crazy is that? Like, it's like, I mean, the age of AI and everything, and information and truth and falsities or whatever is a very scary thing in and of itself. The info fuck. All that is a very scary thing in and of itself. But the fact that it's like, at least in my opinion, from what I've been tapped into and paid attention to, that it's being applied to the scariest quote unquote conspiracies or topics and controversial stories like Epstein now, that it's like all of this like weird, I don't know if you guys have played Metal Gear Solid before, but they talk about this in Metal Gear Solid, about like reworking of history, reframing of real videos and facts and stuff like this to be false. Like, just completely brainwashing and gaslighting you to like the craziest degree, that it's being applied and done from something for something as big as this. So clearly is like the scariest thing for me, because then it's like, well, then, now it's just going to be every little thing. But the fact that it's being done so blatantly and that they're trying so hard, it feels like that this is really like a playground for them. Now I really sound like I have a tinfoil hat, but I'm just going to no. But then it's like, it's room for them to finally keep testing these ideas and play with them is so scary, because they're already kind of like not doing well, because there's the schisms within the right. There's a lot of people who are very upset with this. But the fact that it's like they have the balls to do this now, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Well, I think
you should be offended.
It's part of the era we're in,
like,
too.
Dude, do you think I'm stupid? Like, I've already been following this for so long. Yeah.
Well, because everyone, there's been so many. I mean, America is just this is kind of like in our DNA to have insane shit happen, and then the most basic questions are just disregarded for years. But it's just a totally different era. And if Trump had the wherewithal to talk to his people and say like way ahead of time, guys, we're not releasing this, don't talk about it, this wouldn't be such a facepalm. Like the fact that they even entertain that is crazy. That's
like
where
they had to as well, like, because it's like there's so many people who were Trump guys who are
they fed off the momentum
that you're not
of
an Epstein boy, or that you're not involved, that you're like some, that you're
you only went there to enjoy the beach.
But it's like, please, it's like there's so many people that were like, please tell me that you're playing 3D chess, or please tell me that you're actually not actually involved. So it's like they did have to do something. But like, this, I don't know. Obviously, I don't think that's the right call. They could have done anything else, I feel like.
I mean, if they wanted to cover it up, but it's partly the era we're in. I mean, there's these high impact events that happen. There's a lot of aspects to it where there will be 30 different things that are suspicious, and it just keeps adding up. And like over the years, you keep taking a look at it. So in regards to his actual death. I feel like that's the one thing we haven't really talked about too much.
Oh yeah.
I do agree at times it becomes a red herring because it's very possible that he was
mean like
told to
that?
kill himself.
Yeah.
He did kill himself. But at the end of the day, what Mark Epstein says, his brother, which again, Whitney Webb will say that some of Mark Epstein's properties were where crazy shit was happening. So who knows? Maybe Mark Epstein is covering for his brother to this day. I
He's
don't
only
know.
a good guy now.
Right.
Yeah, he's only
Fair.
talking publicly, Mark Epstein, and somehow no charges went against him and stuff. So what
I don't
he will
really know
say,
anything about him. Like I know the
so
bare minimum.
he's done a bunch of podcasts. He's done a couple. At least he did like Tucker and PBD. And on Tucker, he said that, or I think it was on one of those, he said that he essentially they did the autopsy and he had his own doctor doing an autopsy. And all the doctors said that this is unlikely a suicide because of where the bones were broken in the neck. Because if you hang yourself, it
Unlikely
breaks.
a suicide. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was unlikely a suicide because the bones broken in the neck didn't signify self-inflicted. They seemed like someone strangled him from
Right.
behind or like broke his like clavicle or something like in the front of him. I don't even know. So the whole thing that's so offensive about this video that they released, and even Pam, when she was asked about it in that clip that was going around with Trump, right? She goes, and the video definitively says this, but it wasn't definitive. Like the next minute, the next like half second, she's contradicting herself in the same sentence. But that's why that's so offensive because no one believed. I mean, I heard there was like 6 levels of security to get to that point in the prison, like 6 security checkpoints. So no
Oh my
one
God.
believes that someone came from the outside and killed him. The whole idea is that a cellmate or someone on his cell block did it. And Mark Epstein, his brother, said that he had sources come to him who said the doors were unlocked that night in his cell block. All the doors were unlocked at 10 p.m. They didn't discover his body until 6 a.m.
6 a.m.
I mean, they didn't even like. And then, I killed himself. So Mark, the other thing Mark says, and this is a big controversy, and this is the biggest. So then what Mark will say is that the people that ruled it as suicide didn't inspect his body firsthand, but they ruled it as suicide. One of their reasoning was that he had attempted to commit suicide before. And Mark Epstein
I
says
remember hearing that.
Mark says that is also a lie. That was that Italian dude that people think might have killed him on his block, the guy that had killed a police officer and shit. He had beat up Epstein, and Epstein didn't want to rat him out because then he would beat up again.
Because that was the first dude. Yeah,
that's when they
insane.
said. That's when they said he tried to kill himself. Was when he allegedly got beat up by his cellmate, and so then the Justice Department they did not disclose to Mark Epstein who was on the cell block. And then of course they shifted out all the people on the cell block after like 2 weeks later. They like completely changed who was like living in that part of the prison. And it's like they did not Justice Department just flatly denied giving the record of who was on his floor, who was in his like cell block. So it's like that's just in itself that is enough for me where I'm like, all right. This doesn't even.
That's bizarre. Like, just that could be anything, or there could be any prisoner in that cell, and you'd be like, "That's strange," or there's something about that that's like whatever. Yeah.
But I do understand. It is kind of a red herring, like talking about the suicide, is it a suicide or not? All this kind of stuff. I do definitely think he was killed in prison, but. And then the other side of it is this terminology that people keep throwing out is the client list, right? Like the client list. It's a similar thing that happens with people that research or people that have any interest in the JFK assassination is they think there's going to be a document that says we did it. LOL.
These are the guys that did it. Yeah, exactly. Like, well, you got us. It's got our fingerprints in it and everything on it, boss.
Like, do you think you're going to pull out a notebook that Jeffrey Epstein had and it's just a winky face and it says, I was blackmailing everybody, LOL.
Yeah, it's going to be a Scooby-Doo level of like, well, we got you, folks. Now you have to go to jail. Like, no.
No, it's offensive. You got to just look at, and this is where I think is the most concrete way to look at this case. Look at what the victims said. The victims named all these people. There are all kinds of people that have been named, and they settled. I mean, they had an Epstein compensation fund, is what Nick Bryant brings up. And if you get money paid to you from this compensation fund, you sign like an NDA. So they silenced a shit ton of people that were accusers by just paying them off. And that's like on the books happen. I mean, all of this is like, there's so much shit that's totally documented that it was not just Ghislaine and Jeffrey. That's why this case matters. It's not just, it's not just like you're going to get, footage from a Bilderberg meeting and, Hillary Clinton is fucking, Al Gore with an ox head on the top of her skull. You're not going to get a video of that, but you're going to see a lot of heinous shit like on the record that was not prosecuted, sweetheart deals, like all of this stuff. But I don't know, it does really lean into that kind of Alex Jones worldview, which is unfortunate that, the elites are doing eyes wide shut type, fuck parties. But anyway.
Literally, like, no hyperbole. Like,
and they killed Stanley Kubrick too.
Yeah, like,
he was trying to expose Epstein.
Yeah, I remember hearing.
I just started flipping out.
I remember hearing, like, somewhere online that there was like a whole theory about how Kubrick knew, what's her face's Nicole Kidman's dad, and that he was some elite character who was.
Oh my god!
I have no idea if that's true. Like, that's just been some fun thing that I read online. But like, like, but having said that, it is bizarre how when you watch Eyes Wide Shut, like that it's just the same thing about like the blackmail, like these like secrecies, like the whole thing about like when people also say like that, conspiracies aren't real because like, are you expecting me to believe like a certain amount of people can keep a secret? And it's like, I mean, if it's this type of stuff, like,
blackmail works.
Like, are you kidding me? There's people who have done just embarrassing things that they've only witnessed themselves that have never told anybody else in their lives. Like, imagine that, but you fucked a child, like, and 3 people know about it. Like, no, none of those guys are talking, unless that, one of them,
especially in this case,
especially is shot, whatever, it's like just stuff like that where it's different level. It's there, you could talk about this stuff for like hours. Like, it's just maddening, and there's so much to talk about. Important. That,
what about
feeds into so many other things?
What about the painting thing? That was another thing I can remember.
My god!
The Bill Clinton in the dress,
of him, allegedly, him in the dress, or Bill Clinton in the dress is one. But the one that I always that I forgot about recently when I was reading about is there's one allegedly of him, Jeffrey Epstein, in prison. Like, it's like a wide shot of a prison yard, and there's a painting of him in a like prison garb, and he's like just like facing like he's got his hands on the bars looking outside, and it's
my god,
like that's insane. Like,
didn't he have one of Bush too?
Yeah, he had one
like
of Bush
9/11.
With the 9/11, where it's
like
he's playing
it's like
Jenga.
Bush is a little boy, and he like knocks over 2 towers that are Jenga blocks or something.
That painting and the Bill Clinton one are done by the same artist, and I think it's a woman. I could be wrong. I remember like she said like she had no idea who bought those paintings because like no one had bought them at the time, but someone had paid like a decent amount of money for them, and she was like just excited to have them sold, so she didn't ask any questions, which that also this is just pure memory, so I could be wrong, but I remember that like also made me like suspicious and scared, where I was like, who are we, or like what, like I have a couple of questions about that sounds scary, or like weird, but it's the same thing with the Podesta logic, or like this Pizzagate stuff where they were like like even if you were like, or like even if you're a person who it was disproven to you and you're like, oh, that's just some weird internet thing, then why he had some weird fucking paintings. Like,
the painting stuff gets bizarre.
Epstein had some weird, very bizarre stuff. There was like paintings of eyes and stuff, or a collage of eyes.
And then weird like temples on the island and shit.
The temple. What the fuck is that? Yeah, that's a big thing too. That has just never been answered. And it's like we're supposed to be like, oh, you know, like,
Nothing to see here.
yeah, like, come on. He was just the man was an eccentric, and it's like for sure, but come on, like, I'm sure you gotta be.
There's
That's
just so much
villain
more to the
behavior.
story.
Yeah,
Now
cartoon behavior.
we're definitely gonna have to do like a 9/11 episode for Half a God's Face. It'll also
Ooh.
be really
Oh,
wild, but
God.
I feel like similarly, Prince Bandar, who was, Bandar Bush, I just read that he was giving $1 million a month to the Contras during Iran Contra. And Prince Bandar was a guy that like had a relationship with Osama bin Laden for like over 20 years before he did 9/11. So there's a weird thing about Iran Contra because Israel was determined to what Israel would do during the Iran-Iraq war is they would fund both sides, but they at times they'd want Iran to win. At times I think they were more fearful of Iraq at first before they were fearful of Iran, but they wanted them to bleed each other out. So Israel had this partnership that was run through Adnan Khashoggi and the Saudis. And then I think Prince Bandar probably had some relative like normalization of relations with obviously with the Bush family and stuff and like the neocons. But that's the weirdest thing about Epstein, 9/11, this kind of milieu is that there's all these weird
Reoccurring
overlapping
characters. Like there's
reoccurring characters. And again, I mean, it really seems like with any high impact event, there's foreknowledge. I mean, there are plenty of warnings that 9/11 was going to happen. And then you hear about people doing insider trading, like shorting the stock.
Dude,
And,
yeah,
Trump.
that's the scariest thing for me too. Like I remember hearing that and was like, that's bizarre.
Terrifying.
Like, like that's the thing that like makes no sense. Like you're telling me like, some millionaire woke up one day and was like, I'm just going to pull out. Like
I'm going to short the airlines.
like I don't know what about today. Like come the fuck on. Like what is that?
Yeah, and like I said, the Promise software that Robert Maxwell sold literally dealt with looking at predictive trading. And there's all these weird softwares and programs that in intelligence and like pretty much so I'm sure, getting into 9/11 and stuff, now we're buddies with the leader of Syria, who's a former Al Qaeda guy because he has good relations with Israel. But of course, somehow Al Qaeda does 9/11, and now we're just buddies with Al Qaeda. That makes sense. Okay. And sure enough, for whatever reason, every expert on the Middle East will admit, even though Osama bin Laden hated Israel, he didn't attack Israel. Al Qaeda has seemingly never really attacked Israel.
Right.
And then right after 9/11, they don't really seem to be our enemy either at that point. It really, and the fact that we gave them all their weapons for fighting the Soviets. So it's like all our own people anyway. And again, it's not like you have a video game controller and you're controlling all of this to some degree, but it gets really tough to deny just how complicit the U.S. is in its own. Again, I don't know if I would call 9/11 like a failure. It seems like they knew it was going to happen and just allowed it to happen.
That was one of our
like my
biggest
vibe,
successes in a while.
And they got all this shit they wanted to do, and then now 20 years later, the enemy, the people that did 9/11 are no longer our enemy.
Right. Yeah.
And we have all these rights taken away and mass surveillance. And it's like really makes you think. And then we get rid of Saddam, who was one of the biggest irritants to Israel, and then Gaddafi. You just get rid of all these people that opposed Israel. Assad in Syria, all these people that were obviously dictators, but getting rid of them just caused the EU and the West causing like refugee crises and stuff. They just hurt the world so much, and they're so like immoral to like destroy these societies. And it's like, who really benefited? And the neocons were always really radical pro-Zionist, and Trump to a degree kind of postures himself as like a different thing than the traditional neocon, but then he surrounds himself with neocons, and now they're seemingly even more just openly down to like use Israel to do all this crazy shit. But I mean, That's a whole other conversation on Half of God's Space podcast when we bring on one of our good friends who shall not be named. Yeah, I don't know if we had any other.
Oh, I have one thing to say.
Okay.
I think I could speak on behalf of you guys as well. None of us are suicidal
Yeah.
Oh my god!
after this
I would never
podcast has
kill
been
myself.
published on
I
its
would never do
platforms.
Yeah.
I love life, so take that information and do
Fair.
what you
love
will.
Hillary Clinton so much.
Well, yeah.
Or I mean, like I should. Well, you know.
Don't
I
worry,
guess if I was doing
Hillary.
a joke, yeah.
I
whatever.
think-
She's
I think-
hot.
Yeah.
Hillary, don't worry.
Actually,
I bet you look.
I do have really quick beef. I've seen this thing on the internet where people have said that Sabrina Carpenter looks
I was
like,
just about to bring that up.
dude, bizarre. That's propaganda. I do not fuck with that. That is crazy. I think young Hillary is cute. You know, I won't lie. You know, I won't.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not that much.
Sabrina
of a hater.
Carpenter's fucking annoying,
But
dude.
but Sabrina Carpenter right now does not look like Hillary Clinton, and that is a
The hell
crazy
did
thing.
she become Secretary of
to-
State? Fuck no. What's she
No.
done?
I would, yeah.
She made
Can you
good
imagine,
catchy music. Fuck you.
Can you
I
imagine?
just
Sabrina-
wanted to give a
Sabrina
shout out
Carpenter.
to my girl Hillary just before we get done here. I wanted to say, Hillary, I feel like you probably look bad as hell when you're wearing the ox head on your face. When you're wearing the skin of the bull when you are at the Bilderberg meeting, I think you
When
look
you're-
bad as hell, girl.
when you're in front of the owl burning, you know,
When you're in front of
Moloch,
Moloch the owl god.
yeah, like, you know, I think you look
What?
sexy.
That's the Bohemian Grove shit.
Oh,
Yeah, the Bohemian Grove. Yeah, I'm sorry, we're getting a little
which
too
doesn't
ahead.
exist.
Yeah, which is not real. This was all
I
satire.
think we've
have
just
never
been
serious in
JKing
my
this whole
life.
time.
I have just been joking.